We'll move on to the action items. The presentation of the outstanding invoices.
I would move that we approve the invoices in the amount of $2,596,021.37 as presented.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, Sue.
Mr. Kozel?
Aye.
Mr. Lullo?
Aye.
Mr. McFadden?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Molinari?
Aye.
Mr. Malloy?
Aye. Personnel report.
If I could refer you to the personnel report on your places this evening under leaves, Jillian Woodlock, mathematics instructor, Central High School, requesting a 6-week FMLA at the conclusion of her maternity leave and returning for the 16-17 school year. I ask that you approve this leave as presented.
We have a motion. So moved. Second. Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, Sue.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Molinari?
Aye.
Mr. Kozel?
Aye.
Mr. Lullo?
Aye.
Mr. McFadden?
Aye.
Mr. Malloy?
Aye.
Under resignations, Margaret Murray, Special Services Secretary North, resigning this position effective November 6th. Kimberly Dunbar, Cafeteria Employee North, resigning this position effective October 14th. Deborah Kintner, Cafeteria Employee Central High School, resigning this position effective November 6th. Janet Valero, SSO Secretary North High School, resigning this position effective November 11th. And David Armbrook, District Director of Transportation, resigning this position effective November 6th. I ask that you accept these resignations as presented.
So moved. Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that? Sue?
Mr. Lullo?
Aye.
Mr. McFadden?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Molinari?
Aye.
Mr. Kozel?
Aye.
Mr. Malloy?
Aye.
Under retirements, Anthony Brandolino, mathematics instructor, East High School, requesting to retire under board option A effective at the end of the 2020 school year. And Mary Gable, bus driver, Transportation Department, requesting to change her retirement date from June 2017 to December 2015. I ask that you accept these retirements as presented.
So moved. Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this? Sue?
Mr. McFadden?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Molinari?
Aye.
Mr. Kozel?
Aye.
Mr. Lullo?
Aye.
Mr. Malloy?
Aye. The approval of the treasurer's report for October 2015, Ron?
Yes, if I could refer you to the treasurer's report that was in your backup material, as well as the expanded treasurer's report that was at your places this evening and emailed earlier this week. A couple of things to point out with October behind us now. The fall property tax distributions are pretty much complete. There are always a couple that may trickle in during November, December, but the bulk of the funds are in. So when you look at the revenues for fiscal year 16 to date compared to the budgeted fiscal year to date, that's the reason for the difference between those. The next couple of months, obviously, we won't be having any property tax distributions coming in. In terms of expenditures in each of the funds, the key revenues and expenditures are broken out for you. A couple of things I would like to bring to your attention. Our general state aid stays on schedule. We have received a handful of mandated categoricals in the last month. They were in the area of driver's education and then the federal fund flow through, so IDEA, the title funds, as well as the career and tech grants and things of that nature. The rest of the revenues pretty much are on track. You'll notice that our revenues from the elementary feeder districts in transportation have really started to surface in that area. So we're getting at a point now where we're into a regular operating mode, and you'll see expenditures and revenues, or expenditures especially, pretty much level out and get to our monthly average as you have this month. That concludes my treasurer's report.
Do we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report for October 2015? discussion?
Just one comment I'd just like to make to the public's, so the public's aware. On this document, there is actually a actual amount and a budgeted amount. Now, that was brought up in public comment. We do get these. Yeah, here.
Now.
All right, any other comment?
Hi, is this on? Thanks. My only comment, I did write a memo on September 8th, 2015, budgeting and compliance recommendations. I indicated that I recognize that the administration is extremely busy. One of my recommendations was the district should continue to expand the monthly treasurer's report, and I appreciate that we're continuing to do that. I do think it's significant. We do need to get year-over-year and month-over-month comparisons of revenues and expenses for each fund, as I indicated in my memorandum of September 8th, 2015. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, sir.
Mr. Lulo? Aye. Mr. McFadden?
Present.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Molinari? Aye. Mr. Kozel?
Aye.
Mr. Malloy?
Aye. The approval of the student activity report for October 2015. Ron?
Yes, the student activity report summary was in your backup material, and then the check register for the student activity accounts was emailed to you last week as well for your review. You'll notice that for the most part for the month of October, receipts and expenditures were almost a dead-on match. The balances in the accounts did go up a little bit. There are a couple of accounts that are in the negative based upon a timing aspect. For example, the credit card and miscellaneous fees, that's simply awaiting a budgetary transfer that will take care of that. The principals work on the other accounts that might have small negative balances, and we'll get those straightened out by the end of this month. In terms of interest earnings, both on the student activity side and the general ledger side, as we know, the rates have not changed very much, so there has not been much growth in that area. That concludes my report.
Is there a motion to approve the students' activity report, October 2015?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this? Sue, roll call, please.
Mr. Kozel?
Aye.
Mr. Lulo?
Aye.
Mr. McFadden?
Present.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Molinari? Aye. Mr. Malloy?
Aye. Reports and recommendations, bid proposal approval, welding equipment bid. Ron?
Yes. In your backup material, we have given you a little bit of information about this bid, which was just opened this week. The purpose of this bid is to build a third welding lab. As you know, currently we only have welding labs in 2 of our schools, so students have to travel. And this is really one of the most popular programs in our industrial education area, and it gets back to what Mr. Riley said earlier about those 20% of kids that may elect not to move on to a 2-year or 4-year school, and this program has proven to be one of the most successful over time. The documentation was sent out to a couple of separate vendors. The bid summary was at your places this evening. When we opened the bids, there was only one company that elected to bid. That was WeldStar Company, with offices in both Aurora and University Park. The full details of the bid are at your place. We would make a recommendation that we accept their bid in the total amount of $39,568.20. We had anticipated when we started looking into this that this was going to be about a $45,000 project for the equipment side, so we're extremely pleased with where this bid came in. I did have a chance to talk to the representative from the other company. He just felt that at this point in time they were not in a good place to submit a bid for this project, so that's why we have only one.
We have a motion to accept, do we have a motion to accept the welding equipment bid?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
Just quickly, I think this is great that we're expanding. As Tim did say, about 20% of kids choose not to go to college. And I'll tell you, people in the trade, especially in welding, a journeyman welder, they're between about 130 and 140,000. So if college is your choice, that's fine. But instead of walking out maybe with 100 or 130,000 in student loans, maybe you have a great career path. So I think it's great that we're giving that opportunity and cutting down on travel. So thanks for that.
Any other discussion? We have a motion, we have a second. Sue?
Mr. Lulo? Mr. McFadden? Dr. Johnson? Mrs. Molinari? Mr. Kozel? Mr. Malloy?
Request for proposal, external auditor, Steve. Go ahead, Steve.
Yes, last month we sent out requests for proposals to 9 accounting firms to conduct both the financial statement audit for the next 3 fiscal years, this fiscal year ending 2016, 2017, and 2018. And then also, we asked a second proposal from each firm for an agreed-upon procedures engagement. And the deadline for the agreed-upon procedures engagement is December 8th. The financial statement audits would start, preliminary work would start in June, and then the actual field work would be in July or August. We sent out a financial summary of the 6 firms that submitted proposals for both services. I'll first summarize the financial statement audits. The 6 firms, the first year cost ranged from a low of $26,100 to a high of $36,000. It is a 3-year contract, and so I also totaled up the 3-year cost. The 3-year cost would be, the low was $80,580 and a high of $111,300. We're recommending awarding the contract to the lowest quote or proposal, which was Wormer, Rogers, Doran, and Rusin. They're based out of Joliet. They have been auditing school districts for many years. They audit both Cook County, Will County, and even other counties. They're currently auditing 2 high school districts that neighbor us, Joliet Township High School District and High School District 230. They're currently also currently auditing Manuka Elementary District, and they've audited in the past for 10 years Lockport Township High School, and they've also audited for a number of years Valley View School District. The 2 school districts I've worked for at various times, the partner that would be in charge of the audit has audited the districts I've worked for. Very professional, very experienced, knowledgeable, and always did an appropriate job on a timely basis in conducting audits for the districts I've worked for in the past. So that's the summary of the financial statement recommendation. In regards to the AUP, again, the same 6 firms also proposed the AUP, agreed upon procedures engagement. From a very low proposal was from Crow Horwath, $14,500. The highest proposal was $32,000. And Crow Horwath is also a very experienced, and actually they're larger much larger than Wormer Rogers, but they're a large firm, and I talked to them and I said, are you willing to accept just the AUP and not because you're lowest at the AUP, you're actually pretty high on the financial statements audit, and they said, yeah, they willing to accept just the AUP, and the partner that would be in charge of the engagement mentioned that they're currently in the process of doing the exact same type of work for another school district. They're tracing through, the scope of this AUP was to trace through all our bond issues and the bond proceeds and the expenditures. They're doing the exact same thing. Actually, 3 bond issues as well over a number of years for another school district. She was not in a position to name the school district, so I couldn't call them. And they're doing it on a consulting basis. We're doing it on, I think, a more stricter AUP engagement. So, given that they're a highly respected firm, and they know exactly what they're getting in, what the work that they need to do. I was surprised that they came in so low, but that's great for us that we'll be able to save the money. So we're recommending 2 different firms to do the 2 different proposals. One would be Warner Rogers, and the other would be Crowe Horwath for the AUP.
It's important to note we're moving forward with a new annual auditor, but at the same time, this AUP, it may be a beginning. We're going to see what the numbers show. We've identified that we have some concerns in those areas. Those are the areas that we're going to begin with, to begin the research and to get exact figures. Once we have those exact figures, we'll bring those back to the board and we'll look to see if there needs to be further action or if this satisfies the scope of our concerns. But we'll look for 2 separate motions, one for a 3-year contract for an external auditor, and then one for the agreed upon procedure engagement. The first with Warner Rogers, the second with Crowe Horwath.
All right, do we have a motion to accept the proposal for the external auditor?
Okay, do 2 separate motions. I move that the school board contract with Warner Rogers, Doran, and Ruzon for the financial statements audits for fiscal years 2016 through 2018 at an amount not to exceed $80,580.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, Sue?
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Kozel?
Aye.
Mr. Lullo?
Aye.
Mr. McFadden? Mrs. Molinari? Mr. Malloy?
Aye.
I now move that the school board contract with Crowe Horwath for an agreed upon procedures engagement at an amount not to exceed $14,500.
We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Sue?
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Molinari? Mr. Kozel?
Aye.
Mr. Lullo?
Aye.
Mr. McFadden? Mr. Malloy?
Aye.